Good evening, ODU. Welcome to the WODU Basketball Hour, starring myself, Numbers.
And Mitch.
Thank you for tuning in this week. We've got an excellent show for you this week. Lots to talk about in college basketball and in the pros. The March Madness it's April now, actually. So March Madness is technically over.
When April hits, you just remember that,
Yeah.
oh, man, this weekend I'm getting the NCAA championship.
Exactly. So we've got a couple great Final Four matchups this weekend on Saturday. We'll give you our predictions for those, and I think we'll give you a little early prediction for our championship game Monday. Don't forget to tune in on Monday. We will be giving a preview of the national championship during the Mitch and Numbers show next Monday. Make sure to tune into that at 1 p.m. But yeah, I think a great Final Four. Let's start off talking about the Final Four. We've got a great 4 teams left. We got how many number 1 seeds do we have? 3 number 1 seeds.
3 number 1 seeds. There was only one fluke that they had to get rid of, but we're here now. So
we got Kentucky, Wisconsin, Duke are the 3 number 1 seeds, and Michigan State in classic Michigan State fashion somehow, some way, scrap their way into another Final Four.
Somehow, some way.
It's amazing how they do this.
I don't understand how they do it, but they always find a way. And it's Tom Izzo, man. That's simply all you can say, really, in this situation.
Exactly.
So let me figure out. I don't even know if I'm talking to you guys. That's the thing. Keep going.
All right. I feel bad if you can't talk.
Oh no, I can talk.
All right.
I can always talk.
Oh, okay. All right. So the Final Four matchups, we've got Kentucky versus Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin's a team that everyone, including you, has been saying this is a team that can beat Kentucky. You know, this is the team Kentucky needs to be afraid of come tournament time.
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't thought that there's been a single team that Kentucky really should be afraid of. Yeah, there's probably a couple teams that I thought would give Kentucky a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically enough, everyone was saying Notre Dame was one of those teams that could give Kentucky a good game and possibly beat them. Going into that, I didn't think so because I just thought Notre Dame relied too much on the three-point shooting. Their defense wasn't that good. They're not very big. No one's as deep as Kentucky.
Sure.
So I actually thought Kentucky would beat them fairly easily, not like they did West Virginia, but I thought, 10 to 15 points. But West Virginia was beating them, and Kentucky made it, towards the last 8 or 9 minutes of the game was really when Kentucky started to look like Kentucky again. Props to Notre Dame. I mean, I was wrong.
Yeah. I think that game, it suited well for Notre Dame this year because they played fast all season. They were just able to put up points, at a high volume. When you looked at those Notre Dame scores, you saw, they got 98 one game. They put up 78. They were putting up points.
Oh, yeah, they can put up points.
But I understand, this is maybe one of the best defenses I've ever seen.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know, how a very high-paced offense would fare against a very, gritty defense. But I loved it, and I thought Notre Dame.
It was a great game.
They did it, yeah.
Arguably the best game of the tournament so far.
Oh, yeah, man. That was really good.
Yeah.
Duke Gonzaga was actually pretty good for a good part of the game until the last.
Duke just got them out of there like we knew they would all along.
Oh, yeah. Duke basketball never stops.
Yeah, it says the guy who was caping for Gonzaga secretly, trying to tell me that this Gonzaga team was different and special.
I said they were different until they ran into Duke, and you heard me say that on the show.
No, I know.
I'm
just going to give you a hard time about that.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Gonzaga hater.
Oh, okay. Don't forget about the tweet I favorited today with where do you have Blatt in your coaching? That don't have me weak.
What? That was just a question. I wasn't trying to, prove a point or anything.
Oh, no. I knew you weren't trying to prove a point, but you said interesting. So what was interesting about that?
All right.
You said low.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted a basketball writer I follow, just asking, where he thought
Our boy.
he would have David Blatt, hardwood paroxysm. I
Mhm.
was just asking him, as someone who respects his opinion,
He was a good follow, by the way. Very
yeah,
good follow.
I respect his basketball opinion. So whenever I can, I ask him, insight on stuff, and
Mhm.
he had David Blatt low in his coaching rankings. So
I know.
mean,
I'm just trolling.
yeah.
Like you knew this was coming, but I was just weak at that because I know you got booed up there or Budenholzer,
Well, yeah,
like very high.
yeah, as most people do.
Of course. Well,
Yeah.
not everybody.
Oh, well, yeah, B Davis is spam.
he's. I didn't even say a name. I just
B Wee.
my man.
All right, but yeah. So this Kentucky-Wisconsin matchup. Tell me why you think Wisconsin is, a potential threat to ending Kentucky's historic run.
I think I like the way Wisconsin plays, and they play slow as anything, but they're the one team that can always get it done. We saw UVA was slow, but
Wisconsin's
they
even
were
slower.
exactly. They were one of those same teams. They weren't able to get it done. This Wisconsin team has been able to get it done no matter what. I mean, they went against one of the most athletic teams in the nation: Rondé Hollis Jefferson, Stanley Johnson. Those are like two of the most athletic players in the nation. So they were able to go against a fast team and defeat them somehow, some way. Wisconsin has length, but not the type of length that Kentucky has.
No.
And nobody has the type of length Kentucky has, not even teams in the NBA. But
I don't see Frank Kaminsky doing a damn thing in this game.
I don't know about that. That's my thing. Like, this will be a big test for him. How does he, fare in his game? If they can get 29 points from him like they did the last game with Arizona, then we're talking for a ball game.
One thing I noticed that Arizona did, you bump him a little bit, he'll shoot some, trash faders, without thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's gonna have Karl Anthony Towns and Willie Cauley-Stein, Trey
But
Lyles go up against.
if you have good footwork, like I can't remember the power forward from Notre Dame's name, but he was getting to the basket. Yeah, he was getting to the basket and he was making things happen. You just got to get close to the rim, get good position.
I hate Frank Kaminsky though. That's why
Yeah, that's why he's spamming.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, no, I'm not spamming. I'm just
comfortable
with what I hate.
You saw the pick, spam.
I'm comfortable with what I hate.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, who do you have winning this game? Give me a score.
I got Wisconsin winning this game.
You really think Wisconsin's going to beat them, don't you?
I do. I mean, they're in my bracket to win, and I also think that I didn't pick them for no reason.
Do you think they can slow down Kentucky?
I think so.
I mean, because Wisconsin isn't a tremendous defensive team. I mean, they're going to give up points. Kentucky's going to have no problem scoring on them.
All right, so what does it say that Kentucky won't be able to, or Wisconsin won't be able to score? That's my thing.
Well, because Kentucky's defense is amazing. And Kentucky's defense is so fast and instinctive.
It was amazing too last week, but I mean, like,
all right? You really think Wisconsin's gonna win this?
Arizona was pretty fast, man.
What's the score? Very not Kentucky fast, man. Come on. There's Kentucky, and then
they're one of the faster
tier
teams.
They are. They are. I'll give them that. No, I like Arizona. I wanted them in the national championship. They're the better team than Wisconsin.
Man.
Wisconsin just won that game.
Because they were the better team that day.
That day, yeah. But overall,
as far as talent and everything, yeah. But
Kentucky isn't just Kentucky isn't just a bunch of talented players, though. I mean, they have like 9 McDonald's. Yeah, they have a top 5 coach in the country, arguably the best coach in the country. They play as a team. That's what's so amazing about Calipari and what he does. He gets these guys to buy in to, sacrificing, their numbers and playing as a team. And that's what gets them NBA ready.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kentucky's just like.
And going, never mind.
What? And going what?
I was about to say, and going on TV and giving that spiel about, I just let them play,
He does, though. Like, at the same time, he does, like, let them be themselves. Like,
it's like, come on, man. You don't have to do all that. Don't be Nick Saban-esque.
No, he's not Nick Saban. No, he's not Nick Saban. Nick Saban's the devil. But
oh man, that's strong.
That's what everyone calls him, man. I think Nick Saban embraces that.
Man, Nick Saban is just one of those dudes that doesn't seem like
he cares. Like, he doesn't care. He just
wants to win. It just seems like it's hard to talk to him.
Oh yeah. Now the other Final Four matchup, we've got Michigan State versus Duke. Tom Izzo, Mike Krzyzewski. This is a great college. This is what gets me to tune into college.
I've always loved Duke Michigan State matchups over the past. My last favorite one was, of course, the one that started the season with Kyrie.
That was a really good game.
Back and forth.
That was a great game. Yeah.
But I just always love the way they coach against each other. They're never like blowouts or anything like that. They're always closely contested games.
So Duke will be favored in this one, obviously, being a
Yeah.
1 seed. Michigan State, sort of like a Cinderella, but then again, we see Michigan State do this a lot, so not quite. But, like I said, Duke is the favorite. What will it take for Michigan State to beat Duke?
The same things they've been doing, honestly. And those are the things that you need to be doing night in, night out basis. They're first to 50-50 balls. They're flying in for offensive rebounds, getting 2-3 offensive rebounds a possession, and second chance points as well have been big for them. I just think that they do all the little things that Coach Izzo asks for.
Right.
And if you look at most of the possessions they get in the second halves when teams are worn out, they get a lot of offensive rebounds and set it back up, and they get another chance. So I think that's really a deciding factor too.
And on the other end, what's really impressed me about Duke in this tournament is how their defense has played. Their defense has really stepped up, not so much from Okafor, but just the rest of the team has stepped up defensively in this tournament.
And Okafor's had a few moments, not many, but
he stunk against Gonzaga, I thought.
Yeah, he did.
And he didn't play that well in their previous game.
That he missed a few, but
yeah. And we'll discuss the draft prospects, later on in the show.
But he has altered some shots. I won't say he just completely
He's a bad defender, but Duke overall as a team has played much better defense.
Oh yeah, I'm hip. So I think for Duke, the main thing is of course getting Okafor if he's gonna get going early instead of waiting.
Just get him some shooters, yeah. Surround him with shooters. So palm that ball like a little tennis ball and just throw it around whoever he wants.
Exactly.
So I've got Duke winning this game.
Okay,
I'm sure you got Duke winning this game.
I do too, but I think it's not even from a fan point of view. I just think that
Duke's just the better team. Yeah.
And I don't think depth with them. They'll shoot you out of the game with their threes.
Yeah.
Quinn Cook shoots at an incredibly high rate, man.
Tyus Jones too.
Tyus Jones. I mean, Matt Jones. He has a nice, shooter's body where if he squares up, it's nothing but money. And you watch Matt Jones. So.
Oh yeah. And let's not forget about, to me, the heart and soul of his Duke team, Justice Winslow.
Exactly. I didn't even have to name him.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then you got guys coming off the bench like Grayson Allen who can light it up. Just haven't been able to get that much time in the rotation. But
it's the one thing that scares me about Duke, and I know you agree too. We discussed this on the Mentioned Numbers show on Monday. Duke's bench is still, it's suspect. It's definitely the weakest out of the 4 teams, I think.
Oh, that's for sure. But I think.
And it's reason to believe that they can lose to Michigan State because of, that bench.
But I think Marshall Plumlee's been playing pretty good lately.
It's true.
I think he'll come in, give them a few points here, a few rebounds. He's not going to wow you or get you 8 points or anything like that. Yeah. But if you can get 6 points from him, that's straight.
I agree.
So, and as far as Grayson Allen goes, come in, give Quinn Cook or Tyus a breather, and you're good.
All right. So your championship game now is Wisconsin-Duke.
Yes, it is.
Who do you have winning that?
In that matchup, I have Duke winning that.
Duke winning it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they can stop Kaminsky and let Decker get his, which you can take Kaminsky out of the game.
I don't see anybody on that Duke team taking Kaminsky out of the game, to be honest.
They don't have to play. Man, they don't have to play. Man.
No, that's true.
They don't have to play,
that's
man.
true. That's true.
Their 2-3 is pretty nasty.
Yeah, that Jim Boeheim defense.
Yeah, that's what it is. But that's amazing how that's been, consistent for them over the years.
Yeah. All right, so you got Duke beating Wisconsin. Give me a score.
In that game, I want to say Duke 67, Wisconsin.
Wow.
You don't think they're scoring that low?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not against Wisconsin anyway.
If we're gonna highball it, then I was being modest, but if we're gonna highball
that's cool. I mean, do you?
I'd say 73, Wisconsin 64.
Okay. I've got Kentucky beating Wisconsin. I got Kentucky beating Duke 77-69.
Okay. So we're close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's it for our Final Four talk. Again, we'll discuss, we'll give you a nice good preview of the championship game Monday on the Mentioned Numbers show at 1 p.m. Now, as for coaching hires, we had Ben Howland go to Mississippi State last week. We've had a few little coaching hires since then. Richie McKay going back to Liberty. Dave Ladow going back to DePaul. It's whatever. I mean, Good for Liberty, I guess. Good
I
for
mean,
Richie
yeah, it's a
McKay.
Virginia school. Do you see them, coming out of the Big South more now, or
Not really. No. Maybe.
I'm just
I
like,
mean, it
whatever.
seems to be Coastal Carolina's conference. But and another coaching return, and this one was just funny. Dave Ladow, former DePaul and UVA head coach, going back to DePaul 10 years after he left DePaul to go to UVA, where he didn't really succeed there. So gotta love good old retread. Comeback hires like that. It's like Mike Brown going back to the Cavs.
For what?
Yeah, exactly. Rick Barnes, after being fired from Texas about 7 or 8 years too late, like, I don't know, like 2 hours later, got a job at Tennessee. What do you think about that?
I just saw it with 50 Shades of Orange.
It's a great place for him to go because, like Texas, it's a football school and a football conference. The expectations aren't going to be that high because Tennessee really hasn't done much in the last few years, aside from a Sweet 16 appearance under Quanzo Martin. But, this is their third coach in 3 years. They had they fired Bruce Pearl. They had Quanzo Martin for about 3 seasons. Then he left to go to Cal. Then they fired Tyndall after 1 year because he was bad and because NCAA was knocking on his door.
Yeah.
Now Rick Barnes. Interesting times in SEC basketball right now.
It's gonna be fun.
And speaking of
It's gonna be fun.
Speaking of Rick Barnes' former employer, Texas, word on the street is now that they are in discussions finalizing a deal with VCU's Shaka Smart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the two names after they fired Rick Barnes that, came to mind were Greg Marshall from Wichita State, who reportedly is getting an advanced extension or whatever with Wichita State. So he doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But Texas had their sights set on him and VCU's Shaka Smart. Now, I personally thought Greg Marshall seemed to indicate that he wanted the Texas job if they wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
Texas apparently wanted Shaka Smart or wants Shaka Smart more than Greg Marshall. What do you think about this?
For Shaka, I think it's big for him. Congrats to him.
Assuming it happens, of course, because nothing's finalized yet.
Exactly. I'm just speaking into the future,
right?
If it happens. I think that's big for him, and he's waited. I mean, he can say he hasn't, but he's waited for a job like this because jobs like DePaul and those mid Big Five, Power Five conference schools.
Yeah.
That wasn't what he's going to do. Texas is a whole different breed. The facilities are one of a kind. He's going to be able to. I mean, Texas sells itself as a school, but as a coach at VCU, he's been able to get players to buy into his system. He got some pretty good players while there, like ESPN 150 ranked players. So he can recruit, and he's a young guy, so recruiting is not a problem for him. But as far as success or how it's going to be in the Big 12, I think he'll be able to compete there, man. I don't think that he's going to be a bad hire there or anything like that. He comes from Billy Donovan. He's a good guy, man.
Before I give my take on this, here are the jobs that Shaka's been offered and reportedly offered and turned down since VCU's Final Four in 2011. Maryland, good job.
Very good job.
NC State, also a good job.
Yeah.
Marquette, good job. Kind of down program right now, but still a good job nonetheless.
Buzz Williams.
Illinois, okay. Yeah, I don't. No. They're doing all right though, aren't they?
They're okay.
Yeah,
but it's been so down for a long time, as you can remember.
And Wake Forest, which is a reclamation project, so I can understand him not taking that. But in UCLA last year, I mean, Shaka's been linked to a lot of big programs.
Indiana, if Tom Crean
Indiana, yeah. A lot of people say Wisconsin when Bo Ryan retires because he's from the Midwest. Florida, obviously, if Billy Donovan were to leave for the NBA, a lot of people think they would offer him that job. So Shaka's been connected to so many schools over the years. He's obviously a hot commodity. My take on it is, and my take on it, but I'm going to say it again. As someone who's from Richmond, I've seen firsthand how much that city loves him. And he loves that city back. Make no mistake. He truly does love being in Richmond, and he loves being kind of like an ambassador for the city of Richmond as VCU has become a bigger program. And for all, or apparently by all accounts, his wife loves living there too. And we all know that means a lot. Look at Nick Saban staying in Alabama when his wife pretty much told him not to go to Texas. But I think but grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, I thought, okay, maybe Shaka gets that. Maybe that's not why he's going, or maybe that is why he's not going to programs like Maryland, like NC State, or even a top 5 program like UCLA last year when he didn't go there, or 2 years ago. Sorry. Uh, Texas is it's a big job because you can get big recruits in basketball, which is something Rick Barnes never had problem getting recruits. He just had problems making them better. It's a football first school. So again, with Rick Barnes, as we saw how he was there way too long, you're not going to have a whole lot of pressure on you at that job. At least that's, what we expect. My problem is on Shaka's side, I don't think he can get the top recruits that Texas is capable of getting to buy into playing that style for 40 minutes. And I don't know if it's capable of beating teams like Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma, Iowa State. I don't think it can cut it in the big boys program like that. I just don't see it happening. And as for Texas, why wouldn't you go for Greg Marshall? I don't get it. If a guy made it, maybe reports are wrong, but if I'm going off reports and they're saying that Greg Marshall wants that job, if Texas wants him, want him. I mean, look at what this guy's done. He's done more than Shaka Smart, hasn't he? Went to a Final Four, was a number 1 seed last year, only lost 1 game all season last year, went to a Sweet 16 this year. I mean, what has Greg Marshall, not done in order for Texas to covet him?
Yeah. It's funny with these coaches expressing their interest nowadays publicly.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty funny.
So if you were Texas, would you rather get would you go for Greg Marshall or Shaka Smart?
I want Greg Marshall. Shaka, by all means, has done a great job at VCU and building that program up from what Anthony Grant, who left it in pretty good shape. That's pretty crazy, because he took them to the next level. But I think, Wichita State, what he's been able to do, Greg Marshall has developed more NBA ready products. He's created a team, he's created a system that allows his players to,
and he's just a
develop.
better coach.
He's just
a better coach too. Just overall, you get the sense that Greg Marshall's a easily superior coach to Shaka Smart. And I don't mean to make it sound like I think Shaka Smart's a scrub. He's obviously a good coach. However, the whole VCU thing, Jeff Capel and Anthony Grant did take VCU to tournaments. Round of 32, round of 64. That's been Shaka's ceiling pretty much since that Final Four run. So it's still really remains to be seen if Shaka is really capable of building VCU into a power. I think he's been consistent at VCU since that Final Four.
This is the reason why people want him. The reason why people want him.
He's young.
It's not even about him being young. Is when you talk to this guy knows his basketball, man. It's not.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't.
It's just not one.
I don't think he's a bad coach at all.
He pulls in good talent, and he's going to develop the talent. I mean, I watched Brandon Roselle. You watched Brandon Roselle. He developed into something serious. What happened to Troy Daniels when he transferred in there? He put players in the NBA as well. He's developed talent, and I think if he does that at Texas, gets them all to play. Look at Texas right now. They've got 3. You don't look into recruits that much, but if you got 3
basketball, I do.
No, I'm saying you don't look into it that deep as far as impact.
Yeah.
They've got 3 guards coming in next year, and Shaka loves his
guard
guards.
Heavy, yeah.
Exactly. So those guys, I don't think they're going anywhere. So it's going to be a pretty good, amount of players he has in there that are already experienced.
Do you ultimately think he can get top Big 12 recruits, which Texas gets on accident?
Yeah,
honestly,
because you're not going to VCU if you're not Shaka. He gets top 150 recruits
right
there.
Can he get those guys to buy into Havoc for 40 minutes?
I think so.
While these guys are focused on going to the NBA, because Texas will get one and done players. They got one this year.
I think so.
Okay.
The reason I think so is because, they talk about Briante Weber being one of the best defenders in the nation. If Briante was a little bit taller and had more offensive game, that's not all his fault. But
no,
you'd be talking about him in the NBA because of his defense. Players know that defense nowadays is something that is heavily relied upon. They talk about Justice Winslow. They talk about his defense first.
I think another reason why VCU is a perfect program for Shaka is because it'll get borderline top 150 recruits, guys who feel like they have a chip on their shoulder, and Havoc is kind of a good system for these guys to play in to prove that. And while they may not all make it to the NBA or whatever, you still get the most out of these guys because they felt, disrespected, underrated coming out of high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you, but I don't think that would be the case at Texas.
Well, no, yeah, because recruiting is a different animal in Texas and in the Big 12 in general. Can he recruit with guys like Bill Self?
Yeah.
Really?
You not like? I think you think this guy's impacted a little. Like he's just coming from a mid-major. No,
Well,
like
he is coming from a mid-major.
I mean, it is, but it's not.
Shock is not a recruiting wizard by any means. He's getting decent recruits at VCU because of that Final Four run.
Who took him there, and how did he build up that talent? He developed.
I'm not saying he didn't do that. I'm just saying that he's gonna have to do a little more in the Big 12.
And I think by all means he's gonna do that if he goes there.
All right,
man.
How sick do you think Ben Howland is?
I mean, it's just like
all he had to do was just wait like another week, man. He could get that job if he wanted it. If he's like, hey, Texas, hire me, I think they would probably go for him. I would take Ben Howland over Greg Marshall and Shaka Smart. Ben Howland's a good coach, man. I thought he got a raw deal at UCLA.
I'm shaking my head because I don't understand how he got, fired and why they did that. I mean, I understand.
I get UCLA has their expectations, but
still, that was a little impulsive.
Yeah,
don't ask me.
Maybe they felt, you've been here 10 years. Maybe it's just time we parted.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most egregious firing ever, but I didn't like the way it went down. Also, another coaching hire that has happened, actually. St. John's, after firing Steve Lavin, kind of pulled a wild card move and hired perhaps their greatest basketball player ever, Chris Mullin, as head coach. What do you think? Do you like that hire?
I think it's good for both parties. Why? Because Steve Lavin got, St. John's back to a reputable status. They weren't anything great. They weren't anything. Yeah. They weren't terrible.
He stabilized them.
He stabilized them. Now they bring in a guy like Chris Mullin, who they hope can sell his name, who they hope can be a guy that understands the X's and O's. And honestly, we only see this so much, behind the scenes, a lot goes on. In those interviews, you got to sell them. They're not idiots, I think Chris Mullin knows basketball and can be a really good coach.
Yeah, I don't think that will be the problem. But Monty Jones made a great point on Around the Horn the other day when they were talking about Chris Mullin going to St. John's. The kids he's recruiting today, these are kids born, God, this is going to make me feel old. These are kids born in 1997, 98, and, 1996. Like, we don't know who Chris Mullin is. They don't know who St. John. If they're going to St. John's, it's because maybe it's close to home, up in New York, family, they were just raised on St. John's, or three, maybe it's the only school recruiting them. So that's not going to be the case with all the recruits. There's obviously going to be kids who know, the allure of Chris Mullin and his legend at St. John's, but, he's kind of fighting the past here with that a little bit.
I don't really think so. I mean,
he's going to have to sell it to parents. That's that's part of recruiting anyway, but you know what I mean?
Always selling parents.
Yeah.
But
like, I could see him sitting in a room, like, ask your pop, what those teams were like with me on there,
Yeah, that will work.
You can be a part of this, revitalization here at St. John's.
That will work, but also, but you bring up that point, but there was I can't remember the player off of UNC who said he idolized George Gervin, and I'm like, but he wasn't even born when George Gervin was playing.
Yeah. There are definitely basketball players who, study the game and have and even like appreciate the old school guys.
If you recruit from New York, which I mean, you can do really well in New York. You know what I'm saying? If you can keep the talent at home.
But the thing is, New York's just not producing elite basketball talent like that anymore.
I just think it's all in where you look.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit there. And then, of course, when you get there.
I mean, there's definitely talent there, but you're not getting five. I mean, how many guys from, Kentucky's team are from New York? You know what I mean? I mean,
that's true.
That's not to say New York is devoid of talent, but it just seems to, that whole basketball mecca thing. I don't know. That nickname seems to be more of a joking nickname more than anything, kind of like how we call Bob Stoops Big Game Bob, sarcastically now.
I never heard that. Yeah, New York still produces some crazy talent. I know they're not all translating, i.e. Lance Stevenson, but
man, Lance Stevenson, what a fool.
But
well, speaking of Lance Stevenson, time to talk about the pro game.
Yeah.
Playoff races heating up. It's getting crazy in both conferences right now.
Mm-hmm.
In the East, all right, let's get the East out of the way because it's just so freaking ugly right now. We could possibly have 3 teams with a losing record in the playoffs in the East: the Milwaukee Bucks, the Miami Heat, who seem to be locked in those 6 and 7 spots. Maybe they'll swap, and then my beloved Boston Celtics seem to be not necessarily in the driver's seat, but seem to have a pretty good in on the 8 seed. So that would be 3 teams with losing records in the playoffs. Hopefully, they just all lose in the first round because the East playoff picture is ugly in general. I know you can't be objective with this, but
I can.
yeah,
It is, but I think there's some good matchups there.
the good matchups will take place later on. Like we all want to see Hawks Cavs, like
If we
in
get
the
that,
Bulls.
if we get that,
Yeah. Right now the matchups would be Hawks Nets. So the Nets are in right now. Because they played one more game than we have, and we've lost one more. Cavs Heat. Let's just get out of the way. You think the Heat are going to win that series? I don't, so we're not going to talk about that. Bulls Bucks. The Bulls would get the Bucks out of there in the sweep. And Raptors Wizards, which would probably
I
be
think the Bucks will win a game.
I don't.
Stop, man.
Look, I was driving the Bucks bus for a while. Like it saddens me to see what's happened to
I
this
think
team
they'll
over
get
the
one
last
on
month
the
or
road
two.
or at home.
I don't think they do.
All right.
Team with no playoff experience. Bulls are just too good. The Bulls will get them out of here in a hurry.
I feel you.
Bucks have no shooting.
Chris Middleton.
Oh, so one shooter means they have shooting. Come on now.
They still got Michael Redd.
Yeah, if only. And Raptors Wizards, which perhaps would be the ugliest playoff matchup out of all of them because these are 2 lame coaches, 2 horrible offenses to watch. The guard play in Toronto makes me sick. Almost everything on the Wizards makes me sick except for John Wall.
Bulls Bucks tonight.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big game.
It is. I need to actually log in a league pass. Yeah, I'm here now. Shout out to B Saunders.
Do the Bulls the Bulls can still fall behind the Raptors in the playoff standings.
They can, yeah.
So they can't really bench their starters.
No, they're not resting.
They're healthy ones anyway,
you know it's hip, so you're not resting.
Exactly, yeah. What was I thinking there?
I don't know.
But Atlanta's got the number 1 seed locked up. They clinch a conference, so you're going to see them start to lose their bench their starters. But Zach Lowe brought up an interesting point. They played the Nets tonight. It was actually a low-key important game. Now, for those of you who don't know, Atlanta gets Brooklyn's pick this year pretty much because they have the right to swap first-round picks with Brooklyn if Brooklyn has the higher pick, and Brooklyn will obviously have the higher pick because they're bad. If Brooklyn loses tonight, I believe they are out of the playoffs, and knocking them into the lottery would be great for the Hawks because anytime you're a top 35 team in the league and you can get a top 10, 12 pick.
And they play them twice. So.
Exactly. So there's motivation for Atlanta to,
beat the heck out of them.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to go all in on that game, but just play enough to, beat the Nets. I mean, the Nets have been playing all right lately. They've won, I believe, 8 of their last 10. Yeah, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They've won 4 in a row. So the Nets are actually kind of hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
Celtics have kind of cooled off since a pretty hot start to March, 5-5 in their last 10. Pacers have really just stunk it up lately after they had that standing stretch after the All-Star break. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They pretty much need to get it going now if they want to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The Hornets don't seem to understand that there is a playoff race going on. They're 3-7 in their last 10. Just got smoked by us the other night. And that's pretty much it for the East. For the West, Golden State is locked up, the number 1 seed in the West, and probably the number 1 overall seed soon, which means they would get home court in an NBA Finals matchup. So they've been resting their starters lately, which is smart. Memphis is the number 2 seed right now. Houston's still in play for that. Portland is too. Portland's 2 games back from Memphis, the number 2 seed. Houston is half a game back. The Clippers, who are actually playing pretty well lately, they have one of the best offenses in the league. 7-3 in their last 10. They've got the 5th seed. Those 5 teams have all clinched playoff berths. The Warriors, Grizzlies, Rockets, Blazers, and Clippers. The bottom 3 teams right now are San Antonio at 6th seed. I can't think of a scarier 6th seed than the Spurs team that's won 4 in a row.
That could possibly finish second or third.
I think they probably end up getting the 4th seed because there's just such a clutter, and it's hard to see any of those teams really falling back like that, but who knows. The Spurs are 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 4 straight. Kawhi Leonard is back. The Spurs look scary again. Not penciling them in as a finals favorite right now, or as the finals favorite, but, if you counted them out, you were an idiot. So you and I were safe. The Dallas Mavericks, who just really have not looked inspiring since the All-Star break. 45-29 right now, 3 games back from the Spurs. They're probably going to finish where they are right now, which is the 7th seed.
Yeah.
And then the OKC Thunder, 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're 3 games back of the Mavericks. They're in that 8th spot. Safe to say they're probably going to end up getting it. The Pelicans, kind of nagging. They've won 5 out of their last 10. They're 2.5 games back of OKC. I don't see the Pelicans making that up. So the West matchups would be Golden State, OKC. That's 4-1, I think. I think OKC gets one at home, but their defense just isn't that great. Russ can't do it alone. Why are you doing this, man? Why are you doing this?
I'm cooling, man. I'm cooling.
He really thinks OKC would beat Golden State in the playoffs.
Hey, man, I didn't say I think they beat them. You didn't hear me come out of my mouth and say that.
I don't need to. I know that's what you're
no,
thinking. You've been trying to tell me that all year.
All I've been saying was that you think the Thunder are done, and I told you they're not the Thunder.
And I admitted.
Okay, but this was my whole statement.
I admitted when I was.
I said they are not done. I said that they will be able to get into the playoffs and give a team a run for their money, similar to how they did to the Lakers.
They're not going to give the Warriors a run, man.
Oh man,
this Warriors team is a well-oiled machine, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
the Roracle.
This is just not a team you want to play, man. Loud City. It's not a team you want to see in the playoffs, man. It's not your average AC.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
you can look at the players and say that, but when you get to the playoffs, it's a whole nother.
You're looking at it in what OKC has been in the past. OKC just isn't those past teams. It's because of injuries.
They still have Russell Westbrook. It doesn't matter.
That's fine, but they have. Westbrook game winning.
They're going to be in games. Like they're in games with Russell Westbrook.
They'll be in games, but ultimately,
2-point games.
Just so much better, and they have a better coach. But coaching,
I don't know. They're
going
to be in some close games. So
it might be close games, but a loss is a loss in the playoffs.
But if you're in close games, you give a chance for Russell to be able to take over, and I think he'll be able to do that.
Or shoot them out of a game. And as much as I love Russell, he is more than capable of doing that.
Oh well, they've gone at Steph and him have gone at it quite a few times.
You think this series is going 7 games, don't you?
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you do, man. Golden State's winning this in 5.
Yeah, I got league pass. I'm hyped, man. Shout out B. Saunders.
Memphis, Dallas. I feel bad for Dallas in this one. I think Memphis has kind of cooled off since a pretty hot start to the season, but I think Memphis wins this in 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
You agree?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Psych. I think Dallas wins in 6.
This isn't the Dallas team of last year. You know that, right? This is a Dallas team that's just totally stagnant on offense.
I'm just going to leave my theories alone. I'm just going to give my picks now.
I'm just trying to help.
No, it's straight.
Houston, Spurs